Ladies and gentlemen, Mollusk here. Welcome to something I'm not particularly proud of. You know when you've just got the urge, you've got all the equipment, you just want to do it, but you can't find anyone to do it with you. Come on, I know you guys get where I'm coming from. The pressure's building, and you just need release. Well, it was all too much for me, and basically this is a video of me playing with myself, and making a bit of a mess on the table. I'll let you pause here so you can answer any questions your family might have about what you're watching. Alright, training game of Malifaux. I wanted to play through a game to get a grasp of the rules before I inflict myself on whoever's lucky enough to be my first opponent, and I wanted to see what documenting it was like. Yay, words! Malifaux is a game that's often said to be quite difficult to make video reports for, and yeah, no kidding, this is going to take quite a bit of thinking about. But for this video I'm going to do it in the format of my old Warhammer reports, and we'll see how it goes. So, we find ourselves in the quarantine quarter of Malifaux on a dark and dreary night. Lilith and Sonnia Creed, or however you say that name, along with their ragtag crews of ne'er-do-wells, face off in the derelict streets around a clock tower. The strategy is reconnoitre, which means the table is divided into 4 quadrants, and we get points if we control 2 or more of these quadrants at the end of each game turn. Each side also has its own schemes, which are other objectives during gameplay, but I'll talk about them in a bit. To the right of the clock tower we have Lilith and her Nephilim. To the left we have Sonnia and her witch hunters. Here's a close-up of the Nephilim deployment, and this is my team. I chose a smaller sized game called a dust-up, just to kick things off with, and so each crew is of 30 points, or soul stones, in Malifaux. So from the left, Teratot, Barbarous, no upgrades. Lilith with the Beacon Malifaux upgrade. Young Nephilim, Teratot. Oh shit. That's a cherub, and I shouldn't have it. Whoops! Well, aren't I a dirty cheater? Oh well, my opponent's a real jackass too, so it doesn't really matter. And well, I thought I had a soulstone cache of 5. And basically you can use soul stones as tokens throughout the game to improve your luck. Think of them a bit like rerolls. And this is Sonnia's crew. Though it may appear to you to be proxied 40k models, appearances can be deceiving. We have a Witchling Stalker, Samael Hopkins, not upgraded, Purifying Flame, Sonnia Creed with Reincarnation, which I forgot to use, Witchling Stalker, and this is basically the crew you get when you buy Sonnia's box set. I chose it because my Nephilims needed opponents, Guild make pretty good opponents, and I hadn't seen any games or YouTube battle reports with Sonnia's crew, and I wanted to see what they could do. And they are pretty tasty, I'm going to tell you now. In terms of schemes, Sonnia has taken Breakthrough, which means her team will get points if she drops scheme markers within 6 inches of my deployment zone, and Entourage, which means they'll get even more points if Sonnia gets into my deployment zone. Lilith has taken Protect Territory, which means I'll get points if I drop scheme markers away from my deployment zone, and Cursed Object, which means my models have to give some nasty shit to the enemy models, and I'll get points during gameplay. Just before the start of turn 1, Mollusk and Dark Mollusk drew their hands. Malifaux is a game played with cards and not dice. To resolve events, players draw cards off the top of a deck, but each player also has a control hand. 6 cards which only they can see, and which you can use to exchange with cards you don't like when they come off the top of the deck, which is called cheating. This is a pretty good hand. Aces are low. We then drew cards to see who was going to get the first turn. My deck is on the right, Dark Mollusk on the left. You can see I won and chose to go first. A quick note on terrain. The clock tower in the middle is impassable, blocking, hard cover and climbable because it's a structure. All the walls are walls, with the exception that instead of being impassable, I've made them severe and hazardous instead to simulate people diving through windows. The ruin in the top left corner is a formation, which means it is blocking, hard cover and severe. Basically for everything, Hiding behind it equals good. Running through it equals bad. Let's get on with it. The young Nephilim activates first and double walks to the clock tower. Hopefully you'll be able to threaten a charge by flying over the building, but be difficult to draw a bead on, as he is behind the tower. One of the Witchling Stalkers activates and double walks down the flank. The Cheating Cherub activates and double walks behind that rocky formation, and I've got a plan. A second Witchling Stalker activates and double walks because it's not in range with its shooting attack. A Terratot walks, sprints, and tucks into the safety of the archway behind the Cherub. He then drops a scheme marker. The Cherub's companion ability allows it to activate again, and it takes a shot with Cupid's arrow at one of the Witchling Stalkers. We draw cards and add our stats. The Cherub's attack is 5. The Witchling Stalker's defense is 5, so they cancel each other out basically. Because the rock was slightly in the way, I have to draw 2 cards and take the lowest. So the result is the Witchling Stalker gets 8 and I get 7, which is a miss. However, I cheat with a king, and Dark Mollusk can't match it. This means that the Witchling Stalker has 8 plus 5 for 13, and the Cherub has 13 plus 5 for 18. The difference between our two scores is 5, which isn't quite enough for a straight flip, and so to damage I have to draw 2 cards and take the lowest. The result's not bad, and I just managed to inflict moderate damage. So the Stalker takes 3 damage, is made slow, and because I had the King of Diamonds in my hit draw, I triggered Dance of the Wilds, which pushes the Stalker back towards the ruins. The Flaming Whatsit double walks and moves centrally, bubbling its anti-magic aura, and Sonnia is trying to set up a fire corridor. Terratot moves down the flank, apparently on the ceiling. There he is at the bottom of this picture. And it looks like the Witchling Stalker has moved up to counter him. Skullhead Terratot moves up next to Goathead Terratot. Samael, the Dark Eldar warrior, doesn't really have a lot of options, so moves up towards the centre as well. The goal is to force the way through the centre with overwhelming firepower. Barbarous slinks around the clock tower to join the Terratot with the Skullhead. Sonnia double walks up to join her chums, and because she's got 3 actions, because she's a master, she unleashes her Flamethrower of Doom. She takes the Terratot down to 1 wound, and magical blast fire spill-off annihilates the Cherub who should never have been there in the first place. Because that wasn't quite enough, the Terratot is now on fire, and because he's already activated, he can't put himself out. That is not a happy demon baby. Suddenly, some illusionary trees, which happen to be better than normal trees, spring up from nowhere. That's right, Lilith has activated. She snuck up behind a wall, and because she's made of ghost, none of the terrain makes any difference to her. Walking counts as 1 action, trees don't count as any action, so with her second action, she casts Wicked Vines on Sonnia, which is a bit risky targeting her with a spell, because no one likes being set on fire. However, I flip the red joker for the attack, which is a 14 of any suit that you like. It's basically the win card. So Sonnia is wrapped in prickly vines and takes a damage and can't move or charge. Lilith's third action is to try to do the same to Samael, and unfortunately she fails this time. Upkeep phase. The flaming Terratot is dust, and no one scores any points this round. We shuffle our decks and draw our hands, and I've got the red joker, which is pretty damn sexy. Sonnia wins the initiative flip, and this Witchling Stalker empties its gun into Goathead Terratot, doing some wounds, I think. Lilith activates. She drops a scheme marker, which is that purple thing, and then casts her Tangled Shadows using the red joker to cheating it in. And this spell is broken as all fuck. Basically, I put Barbarous next to Samael, and then Samael next to Lilith. And that's my game plan. Basically, shank the support character in an alley, mess up the enemy lines with Barbarous, and the Terratots run around doing the objectives. Lilith then attacks, causing moderate or severe, I can't remember, some damage, and Samael uses a soul stone to reduce the damage. And there's a picture of Barbarous now tangling with Sonnia. Samael activates and he beats on the young Nephilim, hoping to kill it before it attacks him. Does some wounds, but it's not enough. Barbarous activates and gives Sonnia a cursed object, which I'm going to say is a small poo wrapped in a utility bill. He then pimps flaps her with his macahuatl, or however you say that, and knocks her away after doing some damage. The flaming peon then unleashes its flamethrower on Barbarous and does a little bit of damage and sets him on fire. Witchling Stalker gets a flaming Terratot to the face. Can't remember if it did any damage. Witchling Stalker towards the centre of the table moves up and shoots at Barbarous. And I forgot to mention that Lilith moved the trees in her activation to block line of sight to their combat. You know, keep things nice and private. The young Nephilim gives Samael a cursed object and I think fails to do any damage, which was disappointing. Sonnia activates, throws away the cursed item, and unleashes her flaming dick storm at Barbarous, and I think does no damage. Black jokers may have been involved. The last Terratot activates, runs up to the clock tower and drops another scheme marker. I'm going to try to build a little base here with Lilith. Finally, the slowed Stalker waddles up and can't really do much. It probably shoots at Barbarous because that's fashionable at the moment. Oh no, it couldn't because it's lost an AP due to slow. That's how that works. So in upkeep, Terratot takes a burning damage, Barbarous takes a burning damage, and I sacrifice one of my cursed objects for a point. And no one is holding 2 quadrants, so no one gets any points. We shuffle and draw cards and flip for initiative. I get the black joker, so Sonnia is going first. Samael kicks things off by desperately beating on the young Nephilim and takes it down to 1 wound. His attacks do a surprising amount of damage, so I think I'm soulstoning here to keep the Nephilim alive. Barbarous takes the advantages that still breathing offers and continues his assault on Sonnia. He charges, hits her, and does some wounds, which knocks her into the model behind her. And he charges again and does some more wounds again. I would have wanted to push her back towards her deployment zone, but I couldn't do it without charging through other models' attack range. And I can't have her unengaged and throwing those fireballs of doom around. So Barbarous was pretty successful. I think she's got about 2 wounds left. This Witchling activates and moves off. Samael needs to die now, and Lilith activates, killing him with her big sword. She then tangles shadows again, sucking in the Witchling Stalker and swapping it out for the Terratot. This Stalker leaves its buddies behind, running for the objectives. Terratot activates, fails to sprint, and drops a scheme marker there. Sonnia beats on Barbarous pretty badly. Her sword's healing her, but his black bud is also reducing that, so she's still pretty badly hurt. This master is a real hard ass. Oh wait, the flaming thing prevents soulstone use, so she in fact kills Barbarous. What a bitch. The young Nephilim activates, wanting to kill off the Stalker, and then run away to go do some scheming, but fails its first attack, so instead opts to just give the Stalker a cursed object. With Barbarous's death, the other Witchling Stalker, who was tied down in combat, runs up to join its friend and start proving a real problem because they're going to get their schemes now. And because I've got no more models to activate, the flaming peon moves up to try to deal with the Terratot who's in their backfield dropping objectives. So in the upkeep phase, Sonnia's crew get a victory point for having 2 quadrants, and I get a victory point for having a cursed object. My models here can't score because they're too close to the edge of the board, centre of the board, which is why I needed my young Nephilim to jump away, but he couldn't. So we go into the next turn. Sonnia wins the initiative again, and the Witchling Stalker kills the young Nephilim. Suck. Lilith activates, moves the trees to protect the Terratot. Not the best placement, but it'll do. She gives the Stalker a cursed object, and Wicked Vines the other Stalker's over there, succeeding with the nearest one. Flaming what's-its-name moves around the trees, using both activations to do it. So the tot lives one more round. The tot activates and drops its shit like it's hot. One of the witchling stalkers likes its moves and copies it. Sonnia runs off down the flanks so that she can get into the into my deployment zone without me being able to do anything about it. And the entangled witchling isn't quite close enough to drop a marker, so it just shoots a load of shots off into combat, trying to hit Lilith, but in the end doesn't do any damage to either of them. So in the upkeep for this turn, no one gets any points for Reconnoitre, because what's-her-face, Sonnia is between two zones. I forgot about that. And peons don't count, so I get a victory point for Cursed Marker. Going on into turn 5, potentially last turn, and I remember to take a photo of my hand. And I picked up the Black Joker this time. I get to go first. Lilith shifts the trees to protect the Terratot, gives the Curse Marker to the Witchling she's in contact with again, and I think tries to Tangle Vines one of the other Witchlings and fails. That was a bit of a mistake. I should have chosen to drop another Scheme Marker. Sonnia's Flaming Totem has to move its double move just to get within sight of the Terratot. Not sure how much longer I can hold this thing off. The Witchling Stalker removes its cursed object, damn it, and attacks Lilith to no effect. Oh, forgot to mention the Terratot just laid another 2 Scheme Markers. Then the Witchlings ran up, laying more Scheme Markers close to my territory, and Sonnia runs up but can't quite make it into my deployment zone. The game hangs on a knife edge. I don't know what the score is, but it's pretty close. One more turn, though, will probably swing things, surely, for the Sonnia crew. The card is flipped, and 6 is lower than 10, so the game ends. The final scores are 10 to the Neverborn, 8 to the Guild. Victory to Lilith, triumph for the Neverborn. Oh, no one cares. This was great to learn the rules, and the most fun I've had playing with myself in a long time. Was it good for you? Take care, guys.